Welcome back to another Python programming video. Today's topic is a recap on the file handling chapter. And without wasting further time, let's jump straight into it. Now, this is my layout for today's video. I will start by laying a high-level plan on how the program will look like. So let's start with defining our functions. So definition, so that's going to be def. So I'm going to set that to save note. That's the name of the function, save note. And this one will take in receive a parameter, so that's going to be my placeholder for text, and I'm going to enter there and just say pass for now. Great, pass meaning do nothing, just pass. Now I have another function that I'm going to call read notes. So the name are self-explanatory. So read notes, and this one takes no parameter whatsoever, and we're going to pass for now, meaning, well, just pass, do nothing. If you do call, just pass. Now I have another section of code that's going to be a while loop. And the while loop basically will allow me to run or repeat an action until the user says enough, one out. So that's basically what this is going to allow me to do, because that's what I want. And you'll see that as we run the code, how the program behaves. Now, while true, so until you break, keep running. I want to suggest to the user three options or three choices. The first one will be to write, and the second one would be to read from a notes, and then the third option will be to exit. We're just keeping it simple for now. And the way I go about doing that, I need to prompt the user for an input. So, and suggest the choices that are just highlighted. So I'm going to say choice is equal to input. So let's say input, and I want to pass in make a choice here, make a choice. And the choice is basically what I've said earlier on. That's going to be write / read / exit. Great. So we're going to put that and add some space, or maybe no space, don't need it. So now we have the choice. Now we need to do something about it. So this is available. What do? We need to check which choice was provided and then map that to a specific action. So the way way I'm going to do that is by using the if statement condition. So if the choice is something specific, we are going to do something about it. So we're going to say write. That's the first option available. If the user enters write, we want to do something, but for now I'm going to say pass. And then else, if. So if the choice is not write, but rather read, we want to pass again. For now, we're passing. We're not bothered about what the logic does. It's just, this is just a high level implementation. So think of it that way. Now, if we're doing a if the choice is exit, then we want the exit basically we want the program to stop. So I'm going to type the word break, which is how you stop the loop. And then we need to have a default option, because the user can decide to not enter any of these options. So you need to have an else. And what we want to do is just say print invalid. No, it's going to be a string. Invalid choice. And that means that the program will not stop, and except if the user enter the word exit, then the program will stop and we'll see the output of it at the end. So I'm going to add a last line here, which is basically print, and I'm going to say program ended, and then a full stop. So I think at this stage we can run our code. Let's test it. So we're gonna run Python that. So we have our choices: write, read, exit, and then we're gonna pass write for start, and it's gonna pass, obviously nothing to do. And then we're gonna say read, nothing to do, and then we say exit, and we can see program ended nicely. Great. Now what we want to do is start implementing the choices. So what do we want to do? We want, whenever this choice is being entered, the right, we want to call save note. Now the way we want to do that is just doing save note, and we need to pass something here. So at this stage I'm going to say content, but because that's what save note is expecting something and do something about it. So for now I have save note that's been called and nothing happened. As a matter of fact, if I just pass in a string here, let's just see no string, and run the code and just say write, run, and you can see that the Python is complaining save note is missing. It's one parameter is required. So that's what you get if you don't pass in the expected value. So we don't want that. So what we want to do is now prompt the user for that value or that text that we want. So we're going to call this content, and we're going to say equal, and we're going to use the input again. Now what the input allows us to do is to prompt the user for the content of the notes. So enter, so we're going to say enter notes, and we're going to do that. No space, just leave it. Or maybe a space. Let's add some space. No, no space. Now what we want is take the content that we got from the user and then pass it on to our method here, and we want our method just for now to say print the value that was passed. So we're not saving, we're just testing, so we need to see that our code is working thus far. So I'm gonna run the code. I'm gonna make the choice of writing, right, and notes. So I'm gonna say first note and enter. As you can see, it's returning that. Now I'm actually gonna make it slightly different, not different but simple for the user. So I'm gonna call this first letter. So how about that? So because it can get very long, right? So we're gonna use X here for exit. So if the choice is right, or the choice, that's cool, right? Or the choice is equal to W, which is great, then we're gonna do that. So we do the same for read. It makes things a little bit fun. And we do the same thing for exit, and we're gonna call that X. So we're gonna exit for now and then rerun the code. Let's see how that goes. So I'll say W, and you can see enter notes. Short, sweet, and we don't have to type long because it can be very long and sometimes a bit boring. So I'll keep it at this level, and I'm gonna say first note again just to confirm that we are getting our text, and you can see our text has been paused. Now Save note is being called and is doing what's supposed to do at this stage, but we want it to write to a file. So I'm going to exit, type X, exit, and clear my code. Now I want to implement the write file logic here. So write to file. So I'm going to use the keyword with and then open the built-in function, and I'm going to pass the path of the file notes.txt, and I'm going to comma there, and then I'm going to pass the mode. Now I can use a write mode, but for this scenario, because first of all I'll be adding multiple notes to the same file, so therefore it makes sense to use the letter A for append. And what letter A or mode A also allows us or handle behind the scene is also the ability for this mode to create the file in case it doesn't exist. And by doing so, it takes away the worry that I have about this particular function where it could throw an error and stop the program. So, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about this. So therefore, I'm not gonna go and implement or try except to gracefully handle the error, because my only problem here is if the file doesn't exist, which the A mode will handle for me. So I'm gonna pass A as the A mode, which means create the file if it doesn't exist. If it exists, just add to it as file, and I'm gonna say file dot write, and I'm gonna pass in the value that was passed, and that's basically it. So what we should see is notes created. You can see my folder currently does not have notes.txt, and whatever value that was passed will be passed in there. So let's run that and test the logic. So I'm gonna do python.main. My choice is to write w note. I'm gonna say first note and enter, and that's basically it. So you can see my file notes.txt has been created. Very brilliant. So I'm gonna exit for now, and I'm gonna display what is in the text. You can see first note is what is currently in there. Brilliant. Now we need to find a way to implement the read node. So now the other choice is read. So we can do that by calling the read nodes. So that's gonna be reads nodes and open close bracket. Now read node should return some value. So in anticipation, we're gonna create a variable that receive that value. We're gonna call it content is equal to whatever read node is returning. So, and once we receive that content, we need to print it. So we're gonna add content here, and we need to display that content to the terminal. Now read node hasn't got a logic yet, so we're gonna go ahead and implement a similar approach like we've done for save node, at the exception that now we're gonna be using the mode R. So I'm gonna use my keyword with and open, enter, open bracket, pass the file path. In this case, it's in the same location as my module. Module is the file from which I'm running my code at the moment. So I'm just going to pass the name of the file so it will know where to find it. txt, and we're going to pass the mode, which is going to be our mode, and as a variable file, and we can say use file dot read. We have multiple options for read, and it's a read line, read, or read line. So I'm gonna go for a read because I'm only interested in the whole content, nothing specific, and that's all I want. So now whatever is being read, I want it to be passed into this variable, save into this variable, and then once that's done, I want it to be returned to the variable or whoever calls it, or whatever calls this method, this function, sorry. So I'm going to say return, and I'm going to pass in content, and then that's basically all that needs to be done. Now, this is where it becomes interesting. So this one is a bit of a tricky one because we are reading from a file that is supposed to exist. So there might be a possibility that the file doesn't exist, and we need to find a way to handle that. So unlike the A mode where we write into the file, it's been created or append to, or the content is appended to it. But in this case, the file must exist or else the program will break. So, and this is where I bring in my try column. So I'm going to add an indentation right here. And I'm going to say except, like we've learned before, except, and we're going to catch any error. So I'm not going to be specific about a particular error name. So I'm going to catch any error, and I'm going to print if an error occurred. I'm going to say something went wrong. So error reading. So let's just call it reading so we know what we are referring to or which function we are referring to. Error reading. So that means my code will still carry on running and it won't stop. So that's a good part about it. So let's go ahead and cause this to break. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add a funny character here, just so we can demonstrate what can happen if we have a file that is missing. And I'm gonna remove the try and except and rerun the code again, and you'll see how the code breaks those two options that we're trying to avoid. So first time I'm gonna run it. We know the file doesn't exist. We have notes, we don't have notes 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and run the code, python in.py, and I'm gonna say read, and error reading none. And you can see it's trying to print content, but there's nothing that was returned, and it was handled gracefully. So maybe what you can do is print that and return that will be a cool thing to learn. Return, and we can see what can you say, something went wrong, something went wrong. Cool stuff, right? And that's what we're gonna see. So I'm gonna exit my code, and I'm gonna say main.py again, read, something went wrong. Brilliant. So it looks cool, it's nice. Error reading, that's the error that's printed, and that something went wrong is a value that was returned, and that's what was also printed at the end of that. Now let's see what happened when we don't have the try and catch. So right, that's something we've seen before, so I'm gonna do exactly that. So this is an assumption that we have a working code, and I will never find ourselves in that situation. And I'm gonna run the code. I'm gonna say read, and boom, you can see that our code is not ending gracefully. And how do I know? Because my final line is not being printed at all. So this is a reason why we try to avoid, we anticipate or use error handling in certain scenario. So it's cool to have. So what we're gonna do, we have our read node now, so we can say clean that. So let's run that again, and this time around we're gonna add some new node. So W, and we're gonna say second node, and enter, and we're gonna say read, something went wrong. That's because I did not change the name of my file. Cool one. So I'm gonna exit again and rerun that one more time, and I'm gonna say read, and you can see I have first, second note in one line. Now, how I can go about solving this issue is by altering the way I save to my file. Remember that little trick we had? So first of all, I'm going to exit that, clear my terminal, and I'm going to change this to a F string. So F, two quotes, curly braces, pass in the value that we want to add to the file. And before that, within the quotes, I'm going to use a backward slash and the letter N. So every time a new value is added to my file, it will be added to a new line, just like that. So now let's run our code one more time. And I'm going to say read first so you can see the content. First note, second note in one line. So I'm going to use W this time around. And I'm going to say third note. And enter that. And it's been entered. So okay, read. And you can see third note is in a new line. So I'm going to add another one, right? And then I'm going to write fourth note. Fourth note. Enter that. And we do a read. And you can see my fourth note is in a new line basically. And what else can we try? Invalid character. Yes, invalid character. We can say OP, and you can see it's invalid choice. And if we try to read again, 4 letters, you can say it's reading. If we try to write 4 letters, it's writing. And then we can see fifth note, and then we can read again, and we have a fifth note. And then finally we can see exit, 4 letters, and program ended. Great stuff. What a nice way to end the Python video series. I hope you enjoyed it and that you also learned something new today. Until next time, keep well. Bye bye.